Welcome to the CEO's Heart for Service, where leaders of exceptional B2B businesses work together to answer this question: how do you scale your services without compromising your client experience or the core values that drive them? I'm your host, Matt Wolf. Join us as B2B leaders share hard-won insights and field-tested strategies for the tightrope walk between integrity and growth. We'll find our balance and the way forward together. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here for our first ever episode of the CEO's Heart for Service. And we couldn't think of a better guest to have than one of our very own clients. I'm really pleased to welcome Rick Gerety from Gerety Insurance to share his story of how they've navigated the tension between growth and delivering exceptional service. And I'm also thrilled to introduce one of my teammates, our Director of Marketing Services, Tav Laskauskas. Hi, Tav.
Hey, Matt. Hi, Rick.
Let's talk about Gerety just for a second. I'd love for you to just share with folks, I mean, we know it's insurance, but what is Gerety Insurance, the way that what's unique about you, the way that you serve people today? I'd just love to hear a bit about that.
We've tried to set ourselves apart by developing an internal culture within our team, and then even growing that to, share that culture with our insurance. Like we have some core values, and I think those core values have helped everybody be on the same page, and really have the motto of, clients come first. We want to take care of our clients before we do anything else. It even says it on our website. It's, people over policies is kind of our motto. And I think when you do that, when you put the client and people first, I think you'll always get referrals and you have happy customers.
What are the core values?
About 2.5 years ago, we decided to go on a journey. It's called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yeah.
And it was a big help for us to clarify what our core values were. Do we have the right people in the right seats? Who is our ideal client? Who do we want to be working with? And why do they want to work with us? So at the time, and we've developed these over the years, but we have 5 core values of being proactive, being transparent, relationship-oriented, resourceful, and fun. And some people ask, why do we put fun on there? And with insurance, it's not the most exciting business to be in. It gets a little mundane. So you need, for everybody's sake, for our clients and for our employees and team, you got to throw some fun in there, whether that means going to a baseball game, in the summer, or having crabs, or, just having lunch on Fridays, whatever it happens to be. We try to loosen it up so that we're not all, getting beat up with all insurance talk all the time.
Yeah, that's outstanding. What does that look like with your clients? How does that play out sometimes?
I hope it's something they notice. I think sometimes it's the little things that you do that make a difference. And I'll give you an example. When you call Gerety Insurance, you always get a live person answering the phone. Sounds so simple, but how many times have you called any kind of provider, whether it be Xfinity or Verizon or a major insurance carrier? What's the first thing you do is you get a phone tree. You spend 2 or 3 minutes trying to get to the right person, and then you might not even get to the right person then. So we thought, what, we're going to cut that out. We're going to have a live person answer the phone. If that person can't answer the question, it gets routed directly to someone who can. And I just think that this makes for a good, clean service experience.
And I've definitely seen with some of the things that you guys have done on social media and the way that your existing client base interacts with you guys there, it's obvious that they appreciate the level of care that you guys offer them. They see the fun, they see the culture that you're building, and they appreciate it. So yeah, it's really lovely to see. I think you guys have been having those core values for so much longer, but the fact that you identified them just really allows you to capitalize on it even more, which is great.
Absolutely. And I got to give some credit to Jennifer Contino. She's our communications and marketing specialist, and she does a great job with Facebook and Instagram and Meta and all the platforms. And I think she just tries to get our name out and show us that we're people too. We're not just insurance agents.
It's always exciting to see a business that has core values that they are living out and aren't just sitting on a piece of paper, And I think it's because a lot of people haven't had that experience, they've gotten maybe to the place of naming them, but not found the way to actually live them. It's easy to take for granted how much they can impact client experience and even client selection. Like you said, we obsess over ideal client from the marketing and brand perspective, but we talk a lot about how the values connection to the ideal client of sharing those values is not just, it's not woo-woo stuff. It's not ephemeral. It's actually something that's going to lead to greater productivity and efficiency and joy and better results on the other side.
I think it's a good idea to have an ideal client. For us, there's people that share those core values, that want that relationship, that want, extra service. It's not like you charge for it. You're still getting the policy, it all comes for free. So if you can get somebody the policy and the protection they need and add excellent service to it, I'm not sure what else more we could do for them.
Yeah. Let's dig in on that for a moment. What does it mean to you as a team to deliver exceptional service? How do you define that?
Well, I think, part of it is feedback. We get very little negative feedback. And when we do, we address it immediately and figure out what the core issue is. I think it all comes down to living those core values. And it's something, the teams meet weekly. Management meets quarterly to kind of go over the big picture. And I think we just continually drive those core values and customer first proposition. I think it just, and then once you keep talking about it, you do start living it. So I think that's, like you said, some people will write it down and then it's done. We actually try to make it what we do.
Someone asked me the other day, how do you affect cultural change? And they were because we talk about it from a story perspective. We help create a brand story that can help everyone understand the story they are a part of, the values, all those things are baked into that. But my answer was much like yours. I just said, hey, you just have to get people talking on a regular basis, just talking actively about what this is and what it's going to be. It is the simple things that seem to move the needle.
Well, you know what else, man? It starts with the interview. When you're hiring new employees, it starts with a conversation about the core values and do they live them now? Because it's not something that, most of them can be learned, but I think, there's some of them that are innate, to be transparent. Can't teach you that. You just need to, that we're going to tell you whether it's good or bad news. We're going to tell you, and we're going to help you if it's bad news, and we're going to celebrate with you if it's good news.
So, Rick, you've talked a lot about how the core values can have applied to the team and how that's really helping them be able to deliver that service. I want to kind of flip that a little bit and focus on maybe some of your clients and any really great relationships that you or one of your team members has with a client. But I just would love to hear a little bit more about the relationship that you have with a great client and what makes it work for both of you.
I think it goes back to some of our best clients we've been in business for 28 years. And some of those clients have been with us that whole time. I have one particular commercial client that started with one guy in one truck, and they've grown over 25 years, into 40 trucks and 100 employees. And it's just been exciting that we've been able to grow with them, that we've been able to give them the service that they need, with that growth. It's just an ideal client in that they like the way we work. We like to work with them, and when you have that situation and everybody works along well, it just, there's no issues.
And how awesome that you guys have kind of grown up together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It is a lot of fun to watch.
that's amazing.
The true partnership. I think we've come to realize what a gift that is in terms of working with independent insurance brokerages like yourself. That locality, that ability to have that relationship and that partnership and grow together. It's just a huge advantage that you have.
Well, it's an interesting business that we're in because there's so many ways to get insurance, whether it be over the phone or online or through an independent agent or through an exclusive agent. And I can tell you that although I learned so much being an exclusive nationwide agent, They realized they couldn't be all things to all people. And when we became independent, our growth almost quadrupled. It just because we know people, we've developed relationships, but we may not have had the right market or right price for certain people. Now we've got 25 different companies, and there's usually a place for somebody that's competitive. And it's kind of fun to have those abilities to be able to match those companies up with the right clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love how you
Um,
guys do that because it goes back to that heart for service that we're talking about, right? You really care about what your customers need and how you can help them and finding them a solution that'll fit. And you don't want them to be stuck with, well, this is the out of the box only option that you have. And you will go the extra mile and help them find what fits them and their specific needs.
Absolutely. And I tell you, one thing that sticks out with that on the proactive side, what does that mean? In the insurance market, we've insurance world, we've been in a hard market for about the last 3 years. Hard market means rates are going up, underwriting is getting tougher. It's getting harder to place risks. So we're finally coming out of that. But during that time, what happened, and especially on auto and homeowners insurance, a lot of rates went up 30, 40, sometimes 50%. So one of the things that we do, we actually pull a list each week on what's renewing in the next 2 months. And we have some guidelines on, how much is it going up and what are the changes that are making. And then we sort through that list and we proactively reach out to the people that are getting a larger increase than what would be expected. And we get great feedback on that. Most people are surprised that we're calling. What do you mean? Why do you want to save us money? Because we want you as a long-term client. It's not just about the money. It's about you being our client, you being happy, and makes us happy. So I think that proactive piece has really helped us excel with our reputation over the years, because I don't think it's something that all agencies do.
It's
no, I've
definitely not.
only had, right. That sounds amazing to me. I've only had unwelcome surprises when I see the bill and then
Yes.
have to call in. And so
Right.
that sounds really helpful. Well, this is giving us a great sense of, who you are, who Gerety Insurance is as a business. And what I'd like to do now is start to track back that 28 years of story. We really started this podcast so that we could examine a real tension that people who care about service feel. How am I going to grow, but also maintain the quality of my service and my client experience at the same time? It's just, to us, it feels like one of the hardest balancing acts for service-based businesses to figure out. So we're going to spend a little time, walking through your story and your journey with that theme in mind. But just to start, I'm curious if you were to tell the story of Gerety, or could you just tell us the story of Gerety, those 28 years, where do you see some of the big beats and change moments of growth along the way? Those sort of, fits and starts where Gerety becomes a new thing, and then you march into a new phase, and then there's another growth phase, and so on.
When I started, it was literally me, an admin, and one other person that would make some phone calls for me. And as you write policies, as your business grows, I'd hire additional people. And what our original setup was that everybody did sales and service. So you had a client, and if they called, you serviced them as well. And what happens, and we found out, this was probably 10 to 12 years ago, realized that you can't be all things to all people, that the workload becomes too much when you're working on selling and servicing. So one of the big changes for us, like I said, it happened about 10 or 12 years ago, we ended up separating sales from service, so that the salespeople, that what they truly do is go out and look for new business, develop relationships, and write the new policies. And then we have a team in the background that when you do need changes, they're the people to call because they know how to do it the best. Not to say that our salespeople aren't going to help out and do some service along the way, but it is really, it has helped efficiencies by separating out those two groups. So, and the next thing, and that's worked for the last, like I said, 10 to 12 years. The big thing coming, and everybody's talking about it, is AI. How is AI going to affect the marketing business, the insurance business, whatever it happens to be? And it's interesting because for us, with us being hands-on, we want to talk to our customers and to our people. How does AI, do you just use AI in the background, or do you use it up front to direct calls? That those are the questions that are coming, is how is AI going to affect businesses and still be able to provide the great service, personal service that people want and expect?
Yeah. Absolutely. And there is a thing too that I'm seeing a bit more, which I predicted was going to start happening last year, but I'm starting to see it happen even more this year. Is there are people who are all about AI and they just want to embrace it all the way, but there's still a lot of people who did embrace it and are now like, I'm just talking to a human. Can I do that again?
Right. Right. And
So
I think we'll figure it out over the next 5 to 10 years, and I think it's going to move fast. I think AI is going to be
yeah.
I think it's going to happen a lot faster than even the internet was taken up. So it'll be interesting to see how we're able to balance the efficiencies of AI and the personal service that people want and expect.
I think in our conversations, we see it as a movement that's going to only increase the perceived value of human interaction. People are going to want more human interaction, especially in terms of guidance. And that has to be prompted with good storytelling from our perspective. There has to be a story told, like the one you were telling, where it's not about savings or cost as the primary thing in terms of insurance, but a partnership and a guide and a strategist who can really help you make sure you are getting the right thing, who can really see your needs and get to know you. And in your case, I know you're working with a lot of people who have commercial and personal coverage, right? They have a whole world of and concerns that they have to deal with that just either you won't be able to, maybe you will, or that you won't feel comfortable handing over to an AI. There are moments when you're talking about, this is my family's future of my business, or those things are really connected. And I just need to talk to a person about that and feel like I've looked someone in the eye and found some assurance. But those things don't happen magically or automatically. So we have to be real intentional in the storytelling.
We've intentionally tried to grow our commercial side of the business over the last year or two, knowing that it is more complex, that you do need more guidance, more help with safety measures and loss control. So our goal over the next 10 years is to kind of grow that piece even more, because I think people always have to be able to rely on a person for complex situations. The more complex you get, the more help you need.
Yeah. I think we're going to be in a world to some extent where being able to say I've been in business 28 years is going to be even more valuable than it used to be. There are some things you can't buy, you can't manufacture, and longevity and experience is one of them. Rick, is there a moment that you remember looking around as you were trying to grow this company and thinking, oh my gosh, scaling this thing and taking good care of people is going to be harder than we thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's so. What do you need to grow? You need money, because you need to be able to hire people, and sometimes you can do it, and sometimes you can't. And it's a matter of, sometimes it's sacrificing your own, whether it be profits or time, to grow a business. I haven't figured out a way to grow without spending money and hiring new people. So I think that the bottom line is that you have to be, as a business owner, you have to be willing to put money back into the business, whether it be for technology, systems, people, in order to continue to grow. And I think that's why some small businesses don't make it, because they just don't know how to handle that cash flow and figure things out.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it really did come down to being able to appropriately staff and have enough.
I think that's the key. I think it's all about people, and it's about hiring good people.
Going back to your core values that we talked about earlier, as you've gone along the way through the 28 years, I know they didn't always exist in a named form, but as you think about the journey, which of them have been the hardest to maintain? I mean, to be consistent with?
I think to go back and review them, transparency, I think that's a given. I think some people, when rate increases happen, they'll go and hide and say, I don't know what happened. We're going to come right out in front of you and say, look, this is what's happening. This is how we're going to help you. And you got to be resourceful in order to be able to get people answers. I think being proactive is probably the hardest one to do on a consistent basis. You're really anticipating what future problems people are going to have and reaching out to them before they reach out to you. So I think doing that on a consistent basis is not always the easiest task, but I think you have to make it a priority. And I think it lets people know that they are important, that they're not just a number, in a premium payment, that they're our customer. We know their name, we know their family. I think that piece is important.
We like to think about brand as something that because brand is really about telling the right story to the right people. It's about the story of the relationship between who you are as a business and who you serve. We think about that as something that reaches beyond marketing. So it impacts marketing, sales, and the client experience. And those are some things I want to examine with you next, how those areas have been impacted as you've grown. So when you think about marketing, first of all, how has your understanding of your uniqueness as a business, of the unique value that you bring to the table in the way you serve people, how has that changed or evolved over those 28 years?
I think it really changed 3 or 4 years ago when I met with Orshi. And I think that she helped us develop our ideal client, what message we wanted to send out to our prospects and customers, and really who we are as a company. When we designed the logo and the tagline, Partners for Your Protection, I really think she nailed it when she came up with that, because we don't want to be a Geico or Progressive where you're just calling an 800 number and doing transactions. We truly want to be your partner. And if you have a problem, you call us and we're there to answer questions. I've showed up on claim situations where I had a tree fell in this guy's house. He was devastated, didn't know what to do. And I was able to show up the next day with a check in my hand saying, here's some money to go get a hotel. Let's call some contractors and get the ball rolling. I don't think you're not going to get that from an 800 number. So Partners for Your Protection means that we're here when you need us. And hopefully we've got the plan set in place so that when something does happen, you're well protected and covered.
It sounds very much like you were already providing this fantastic service, but your brand didn't reflect that, or your marketing didn't always reflect that.
Absolutely.
And now that you have something as simple as 3 words, Partners for Your Protection, you're able to go out there and show people right off the bat exactly who you are and what you stand for and how you're going to be there for them.
Agree, 100%.
When that happened for you guys, how was it received? Because I'm guessing that, with your existing client base, already knowing the level of service that you guys provide, already knowing firsthand that you are going to be there for them, that you're going to show up with a check and get them what they need to get through whatever crisis or emergency they've been faced with. And when you had this updated story to go out in the marketing, how did they respond to it?
I think that the missing piece was the marketing aligning with the message, and now it does. And I think a couple things have happened the last 2 years, or last few years. We've got over 500 5-star Google reviews.
Yes, you have.
And I think it's more than any other insurance agent in Maryland, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So I think that feedback, and then we've also won the Best of Hartford Award for insurance agencies for the last 2 years. So I think our message is resonating. I do think people have an idea that Gerety means quality insurance and quality service. And with that, you tend to get more referrals. When people are talking insurance, hopefully our name does come up, because we truly do stand behind what we sell. And that's what we're going to be here when you need us.
A lot of great branding exercises are about capturing things that people have already been doing and capturing the lessons they have been learning for many years. And as Tab said, they're just not being spoken about. They're just not being out there. And I think that's one powerful takeaway, is just, you may be delivering service that's exceptional, but you have to find the way to tell that story in a way that people can hear and see and understand, and from different angles, right? You have to say it. This is something that's important to us, and then you have to back it up with testimonials and outside proof and reviews and a full picture of what that is so that people can step into that.
Absolutely. And it's not just me, it's my whole team who kind of embraces those values.
Yeah, it's amazing what the partners for your protection, what people might not understand. You mentioned Orshi, and she's my business partner here and one of the founders of Brand 3. She ran strategy on your project. That came out of hours of conversation about where you've been, where you're going, who you serve. But it's so interesting that when it's right, 3 words can catalyze an understanding of what you're about and be able to pass that on to the team as well, become like a rallying cry for everyone.
As a shout out to Orshi and Brand 3, when we were looking at marketing firms, we did look at several. And typically what would happen is people would send me proposals to say, all right, we're going to do this for this much money, and without asking me any questions. Orshi came out, we sat down, like you said, Matt, for hours. She was learning our business. We didn't even realize at the time we have 2 ideal clients, one for personal lines, one for commercial, and they both need different strategies, so to speak. But yeah, the process that you guys go through with an organization like me, it isn't just about quoting, this is what we're going to do. It's about learning the business, helping figure out ideal clients. How do we want to approach those ideal clients, and how do we get more of them? So process for Brand 3, I could have asked for a better experience from my standpoint. And I think it's really helped us, gel as a team between Brand 3 and Gerety Insurance over the years. I think we work well as a team. And we actually look at you guys as an extension of our team.
I know we talk a lot about core values and how important it is for your staff to have them, for you to be able to share them with your clients, but we share a lot. It's just great that we were able to find each other and have this shared heart for providing amazing service, because that makes it a lot easier to work together.
Win-win.
Yeah, I know we're all grateful to have found this relationship. Marketing helps create those introductions, but then of course we've got to get to sales and actually convert into a client. And I'm curious how your sales practices may have changed over the years as you've grown, and in regards to trying to, again, you're still, even in sales, you're really delivering some of the first moments of great service, right? Of great care for people. And so again, in that tension as you've grown, how has your sense of how you sell insurance changed and evolved?
For us, it's about solving problems. Of course, you have to have a good rate. You have to be competitive. That's kind of a given. But what other problems are we solving, or what other problems does the client currently have without us? And that's really what we're about. We're about solving issues and being competitive. So I think it just all comes back to putting the client first. We have a sales process that we use, that we go through, again, one for personal lines and one for commercial lines. But that sales process is a promise to them that these are the things that we're going to do along the way. So they know exactly at step 1, we're going to get together and talk about your business. Step 2, we're going to need to get loss runs. Step 3, we present it to the company. And step 4, we come back and present it back to you. So I think people like to know that agencies and companies have a strategy or a process. And we pretty much have a process for everything these days. And it all starts with the marketing piece. What is it that we're trying to offer to people?
I was going to ask, when did all of the processing begin? The creation of processes. What was the wake-up call where you realized, we've got to get this down?
When we started the EOS process, one of their pillars is having written processes. So thankfully for my son, Sully, he's much better at it than I am. He was able to put those processes. So for pretty much everything we do now, we've got a written process where when we hire a new person, it makes it easier to say, all right, this is how we do it. But if you need to look at notes, here's the process right here. So EOS really helped us to get everything from being scattered about to, all right, let's get it in front of us, and let's look at these, and let's make sure that we're doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing.
When you think about the client experience and how you deliver that to people, How has that evolved over time, over the years?
I don't know if it has actually changed over the years. The only thing I can think of is that, like, we have questionnaires that we try to standardize. So when people do call, everybody gets asked the same questions. But it's not just the process, it's about developing relationships. So I think one of the things that we've tried to do over the last year or two is not just be quote givers, but to really get to know our clients, figure out their background, what their pain points are. And then, like I said before, try to solve whatever problems they have, so that we can be their solution.
As you navigate this tension between growth and service, we sort of look for advanced strategies and complicated answers sometimes, but oftentimes the most powerful answers are these simple things. And we've been talking today about things like, say the thing that you do and that you care about. Talk about your love of great service and caring for people, and don't just let it sit internally. Here in the client experience, build real relationships. In the sales, take a minute to write down what everyone needs to do. These are simple motions of saying a thing, writing down a thing, living in an awareness of what you're really building, which is not just a client, but a relationship. But those living in an identity where you are a partner and not just an agent. But these are simple, powerful things, right? That move the needle, it seems.
I think it's the little things. You keep doing the little things right, and the big things happen. Big things follow.
But see, I think that's immensely encouraging to people because, again, we look for some sort of big answer, or, oh, I've got to go hire EOS, or I've got to invest all this money. But it is nice to be reminded that the little things matter and can make a difference, because we can do that, especially when we do it as a team and we help each other, right? So
Yeah.
that's, I tend to be more of a creative person, so I've got to have the people wrapped around me to help me have consistency and discipline. That is not my gift, but I can wrap my people around me to hold me accountable, which is powerful.
And being a strategist and a creative person, that's the world you love. Sometimes it's not easy to manage people on top of that. You know what I mean? Everybody has the things that their skill sets that they do well at. And as a business owner, you need to learn. I just don't know insurance. I know HR, I know payroll, I know whatever it takes to run a business, the advertising, marketing. As a business owner, you get spread thin sometimes, and you've got to figure out how to make all those pieces work together.
Well, I love that, Rick. I think one of the most powerful reminders we could even take away today is, if you're the leader trying to navigate the space, what can you do to stay in the zone of the things that you love, right? Because that's always going to show, that's always going to pop. Again, that's not woo-woo ephemeral stuff. That is about how will your business succeed. And we live in a world now where, in terms of business, there's so many fractional services out there, whether it's a fractional CFO, fractional marketing, like we are able to provide and be the outsourced marketing team, HR, all those functions you just named. If that's not your jam, if it's not your passion place, and you feel like you're falling down a well of despair when you have to do those things, there are doable, sustainable answers for people to surround themselves and build their team to move forward. So, all right, we get to wrap up with one fun thing here. We're going to give it a shot. We just recognize that B2B services are highly relational, right? They're built on trust, trying to create these long-term relationships we've been talking about. And so that means marketing is going to have to offer something more than just information and expertise. We're going to have to offer something human in our marketing. We're going to invite people to get to know you just a little bit as a human, nothing too personal, nothing too scary, but we call it our Behind the Brand questionnaire. And we think it's fun and mostly painless if you're game for it.
Well, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Tav, take it away.
Okay. So I frankly think this would be an amazing thing for your team to go and do. If y'all did a karaoke night, what would be your song that you would sing?
Wow.
This can be
Well, that's
inspirational
true.
too. So it doesn't have to be that you think you can sing it, but you can also be that you wish you could sing it.
There's been an ad popping up on my Facebook lately for, I think, Meatloaf. They're having a Broadway show of Bat Out of Hell. And for whatever reason, the Meatloaf songs have been repeating in my head the last few days. So I'm just going to say Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf.
Excellent choice, I must say.
Okay, Rick, next question. What is the last thing that made you laugh out loud?
I have to say, one of the things that's happened recently is I became a grandfather for the first time. So I have a little granddaughter that arrived about 2.5 weeks ago. And, it just looking at her, I just want to eat her up and just, I don't know. I just can't get enough of her. May not answer your question exactly, but that's the highlight of my life right now is being able to go see that little baby because she's just so precious.
I think
Awesome.
that should count.
Yeah.
If you're laughing out loud, the idea is that you've got a lot of joy, and it sounds like she's bringing you a lot of joy right now.
I could just look at a picture of her, it brings a smile to my face.
Yeah. Well, let's be real. Even tiny babies make hilarious faces sometimes.
They really do.
Why does that baby look like a 40-year-old person thinking about life all of a sudden? Or was that a fart? We just don't know the faces that they
Could
make.
be anything.
All right, Tav.
I know you work a lot, but sometimes you need to get away. So, what's your favorite way to kind of take a break, give yourself some time? Is it traveling? What do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's two things that I enjoy the most. I'd either say traveling or golf. I'm a big golfer. I usually golf in the summer, once or twice a week. And last year I was really fortunate. I got to attend 5 different PGA golf tournaments, including the Ryder Cup and the British Open. So it was a great golf year for me. Everybody enjoyed it. And I got to go do them with different people. So I did it with my son, one thing, with my wife, another one, with the whole family on another one. So it was a great year of golf and golf tournaments.
Next question is, what smell reminds you of a specific place or time?
What smell? I'm going to have to go with like the smell of pine and pine trees at Christmas time. Maybe it's because my wife burns candles that smell like that. But yeah, I would say candles.
Yeah, I love that.
What's one day in your life that you would like to relive?
I think there's 2 days that really stick out the most in my head. And I would say it was the day I got married and the day I had my first baby.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be there when Sully was born. And for those who've not gone through it, it's just a true miracle when you see a birth happen. It's just something I'll never forget. It's just a true miracle of life.
It's wonderful. What 3 words would your loved ones use to describe you?
I don't know if I can say it on out loud. PITA. That's 4 words. I would say, great question. That's something you don't ever really think about. I would hope what they would say is reliable, good-natured,
Mm.
and I don't know, semi-intelligent. I'm not
Only
sure.
semi?
Yeah, sure. All right, Tav, bring her home.
All right. So, what would it mean to you to have truly succeeded in your work? Not for the company, but for you.
I feel like we've had some successes so far. Some of the accomplishments that we've made, I'm very proud of. We are a family business. Over the next few years, I'm going to think about retirement and being able to transfer the business to my son. I think is something that's really special to me, to be able to have that ability and to do it in a way that we can continue the upward trajectory of the business. It's not all about the money. It's about having happy employees, happy customers. I think when everybody's happy around you, you end up being happy yourself.
That's a great thought to wrap things up on. Rick, just the last thing, if people want to talk to you about insurance coverage, what's the best way to reach you and kick off that conversation?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a website, GeretyInsurance.com. That's Gerety insurance spelled out.com. And my email, anybody's welcome to email me directly at rick@GeretyInsurance.com.
Are there geographic limitations to where you can help folks? Or is
We
it
are
anywhere?
pretty much the mid-Atlantic. So Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, DC, Pennsylvania. We dip down a little bit into the Carolinas. So I would say East Coast. We just don't have the carriers to be able to write stuff outside of that area right now.
Rick, thank you so much for your time today, for all the insights you shared. We just really appreciate it. My name is Matt Wolf. This has also been Pavliskauskis here for the CEO's Heart for Service, hosted by Brand 3, and we will see y'all again soon. Thank you for joining our conversation on how to scale a business without losing its heart. If you found this episode helpful, here are 3 quick ways you can support our podcast and share it with others. First, subscribe to the show here on this platform. Second, leave a review in your podcast app. Your feedback helps other leaders with a heart for service to find this community. Third, share this episode with a B2B leader who's trying to scale their business without compromising the quality of their services. The CEO's Heart for Service is a production of Brand 3. If you're a B2B service provider who delivers exceptional service, but struggles to get your marketing to connect with the right people, find us at brand3.net. And sign up for our Brand 3 newsletter that only sends marketing insights worthy of your inbox. Genuinely helpful stuff for the road ahead. The CEO's Heart for Service is also supported by Forge Podcast Company, a turnkey production solution for using podcasts to reach a wider audience, win new clients, and grow. Find them at forgepodcast.co.